Hi, everybody. It is Sunday, September 14th, almost halfway through September here. And yeah, this year is going by really fast. What I was going to talk about today is basic disclosure. That's kind of what we're sort of hoping for, and that's where we're heading for sure. But what I want to talk about is basically, I guess, in a sense, the supernatural. Because, I mean, we all understand how this natural world works, gravity, weather, even though a lot of this stuff can be manipulated, and um, which it is. Uh, but what I was going to talk about is like when supernatural things happen to people, all we have is our story. So, I mean, I can describe it as best I can, but unless I've got a picture to back it up, or, I mean, granted, I can do a drawing of what happened to me or beings I might have seen, things like that. But for the most part, what makes disclosure difficult is proof. Uh, we all want physical proof of something, like, yeah. And this is like an ongoing problem when people are telling their stories. I mean, they could be fantastical stories of like what happened to them, how they survived, the Titanic sinking or something. I mean, back then, especially hundreds of years ago, they didn't have a lot of, you know, pictures, so there's not a lot of photographs or little videos. All they have is their description of what happened, and so for us, I mean, later on, as you noticed, I'll use Titanic as a classic example of that. Is there was a lot of different versions of what happened to that ship. They said that it was sinking, and then all of a sudden, it it stopped sinking for a bit or something. It broke in half, or some people said no, it just went straight down. But the only time we realized, okay, that those were all stories of experiences someone had, but it's only when we found the actual physical proof that it made sense. Then we can reconstruct that story, because then we find, because like once we found, it was it was a mystery where it was, but once we found where it was, we went down to the bottom of the ocean, took pictures, and it's like, okay, we can forensically map out what happened to that ship. So we can say, okay, obviously it broke in half. At what point we're not sure, and things like that. But so it corroborates somebody's version that was talking about that back then. So and it's the same with disclosure. I mean, a lot of people, you can talk about UFOs uh, forever, and some people have, a picture or something, but it's a hard sell. Like even for me, I'm only just describing things that I've experienced, as best I can, to tell you that this stuff is real. A classic example of that is like when someone saw a ghost. It's like, well, first of all, seeing a ghost is pretty difficult anyway, because it's in that supernatural realm where it's not quite in our physical reality, and yet it is. It's like it comes through. Um, and I mean, this is kind of what I'm getting at as far as the disclosure movement that we're going through right now. Is a lot of us, not only have we experienced things and saw things, but for now it's a bunch of people. That's why this is kind of becoming an issue for me, because it's really just a bunch of people getting together telling stories, including myself. And to be honest, it's not that I'm embarrassed, because I know I'm telling you the truth, but it's like I can't really back my story up yet until something big happens. Now, I guess in a sense what I'm saying by something big is there's going to be like a big reveal. So the problem we're having right now is the controllers, I read about them a little bit in my book, is they want to maintain status quo because, well, there's several reasons, but I mean the main part is it's almost the point where we can't handle it, and then we'll become uncontrollable, and that is pretty true. It's like humanity, Earth humans are going through a change. It's a paradigm change. It really is. It's going to be playing in 3D. This is still sort of 3D. We're going to be shifting, and we're playing a larger game. So in other words, we're going to be joined socially with the rest of almost the universe, at least our galaxy, at least, or something. You know what I mean? Like sort of like, okay, but if you noticed that we're this kind of, I mean, even in Star Trek episodes or whatever, they touch on it, but it's like we're this immature race, even though it's not really about a race necessarily, a human race. We're this immature race of beings, even though we're multi-races even on this earth, and we're almost like juveniles, and graduating to high school or something. It's like, okay, now we're gonna be interacting with beings of higher, not only intelligence, physically, but also spiritually, they're higher advanced. And as far as the big picture is concerned, this whole playground zone is about spiritual growth. So it's in other words, we're going to be graduating to a higher grade so we can experience spiritual growth on higher levels. And even just trying to describe, okay, what's spiritual growth all about? Well, to be honest, it's exactly what we're doing here as well. It's, in a sense, it's a social interaction with each other, and we are trying to define amongst ourselves what is morally correct, and also you're put into situations where you have to make crazy decisions. It's like you got to make a call here. It's like either you're going to go down one path or you're going to go down the other. So in a sense, when we play out in these physical worlds, because we're all spirits in physical bodies, when we play out these stories, we get to be in a position where we make these decisions. So that is part of spiritual growth. So, and whether I know this is a hard concept for people to understand, is whether you believe in reincarnation or not, it is this, again, I'm just saying something. I don't have a lot of proof unless you've experienced it yourself. But yeah, we are eternal beings that come into physical bodies, not just here, too, all over the place. And we come from all over the place to come here to play these games, too. But, so, it makes it worthwhile, is what I'm saying. It's like whatever lessons we learn in these physical worlds, that's what we imprint on our, whether you call it Akashic records, or it's basically, it becomes part of your genetic memory. But we also have soul memory, which is, we have a collective, it's like a database, sort of, is the best way to sort of understand it, of all of our spiritual growth, which is our experiences on physical worlds, in physical avatars of different kinds, and then we remember the lessons that we learned. It's like, well, I'll never do that again, or I want to come back and I want to make amends. It's like, because I feel sorry, or I feel empathy for people that I've done wrong. People call that karma, and sometimes, and karma's sort of true to a certain extent, but it's more like it's more like yourself um, giving yourself a chance to right a wrong that you did because you realize it. In other words, how would you? Well, first of all, how would you know or really truly understand what is right and wrong, which is kind of objective anyway, unless you've actually experienced those, you know, those situations and you made that call, you know. So that's kind of where we're at. So from from what I understand, because I'm getting information from off-world too, and is we have kind of like tutors that are watching over us. They're higher dimensional. Well, they're beings too. They're physical beings, but also there's non-corporeal beings that are watching us too. And for them, it's interesting because they've never really seen this play out before too. Like this is actually a first in a lot of ways. Um, Even though they can fast forward and see how it works out and then go back, and time is a different subject altogether. But I'm just saying the way we're handling this is a curiosity to them because we're all family. We are sort of part of them as well, and they're really curious as this plays out how we're going to handle it and how we're going to react. So, but at the same time, uh, because they're kind of like older students or tutors, they're making sure that you know no cataclysm will happen. I know I've talked about that before, and they're trying to keep control of this classroom so it doesn't get out of hand. You know, as far as wars are concerned and stuff. But yeah, actually speaking of wars, that is one of the things we're going to have to stop doing in order for them to have full disclosure. The world really has to be in peace, you know, even if it's a temporary, you know, ceasefire or something. But I'm just saying, we've got to. That's one thing we have to establish. Now, bringing that up, when you study wars, you know, in the past, ancient history, you realize that obviously it's not the foot soldiers that are making the decisions, and that is still true to this very day. In other words, we are having our strings pulled. We're being messed with. Well, that's pretty obvious if you're awake enough at this point to figure out what's going on. We're being messed with. So, but at the same time, we're given sort of free enough choice to go, no, I don't want to do that, or no, I choose not to. Granted, that comes with consequences. So, you know, and I imagine this same problem reared its head throughout history. There's probably been a lot of times in ancient battles and old wars where people went, you know, I'm not doing that. I refuse to kill someone else just because someone above me tells me to do it, you know. So when I look back and I study a lot of these wars, I'm realizing, man, these people are just taking blind orders and they're not really putting a lot of thought behind what they're doing, or for the most part they're being brainwashed or convinced that this is what they're doing is the right thing. But to kill another person is not necessarily a good thing at all. Like, and that's kind of what we're learning in these physical worlds, because I mean this happens galactically. There's warfare too, but eventually this comes to a point where hopefully where we all can kind of get along and share the same galaxy, and that's why the beings that are watching over us, watching us kind of graduate to this more advanced class, which is going to be dealing with, you know, ETs from all over the place. They're watching to see how we handle this and how we have to get a handle on our violent reactions. So it's like they need us to take a chill pill, sort of, and give our heads a shake and sort of wake up. It's like, okay, let's stop fighting and try to just understand what life is all about, that type of thing. So anyway, that's kind of what I'm talking about. Is there will be proof coming, um, and I'm not exactly sure how they're going to make more open contact with us, but I know that it's directly related to us having world peace. So that is kind of the goal. Not only just to try to shake off our controllers, stop them from messing with us, but also just you know be more open and calm and understanding, that type of thing. So that's kind of where we're headed. Okay, that's my short video for September. And yeah, I'm just, like I said, sometimes I'm kind of reluctant to put these things out there because I don't have a lot of proof too. I'm just telling you from my perspective. I mean, I know it's a reality, or I think it's a reality, but um, it's going to soon, uh, expose itself. So, and then we can all say, "See, I told you so." So that's kind of where we're headed. Okay, I'll talk to you guys in October. Okay, bye.